Society cannot succeed unless those who express their choice are prepared to choose wisely. The real safeguard of society, therefore, is education. Welcome to the Modern Republic. I am your host, Nathaniel Stryker. Each week, I unpack the crossroads of education, culture, and politics, mixing my own rigorous insight with everyday relevance. I don't know if I'll ever be an expert in anything.
No, I feel that.
Mainly because I know now the vast amount of knowledge that pertains to any given thing. So it's like,
Mhm.
how could I say I'm an expert on this? And it's like, I've only even scratched the surface of that thing.
Yeah, it's like the more I read, the stupider I feel. But maybe that's because my perspective is wrong. But it is like there is so much out there, and my interests are so broad that yeah.
No, I identify with that because it's like the more that I read, the more that I feel like I need to be reading more, or I
Mhm.
wish I had started reading sooner,
Right.
at least in the ways that I'm reading now,
Mhm.
that I feel maybe stupid isn't the right word, but like I'm missing out. I'm missing out on so much that I could be connecting this
Mhm.
to come to some realization
Right.
where it's like, if only I had started sooner. But is
I
or
do.
is that a thirst for knowledge?
Right. Yeah, and I don't know how much of that is just like, well, how much of this is my upbringing to I don't know, because I was kind of raised to, ideas are the things that are most important and knowledge is the thing that makes you stand out the most. And the more knowledge you have, the more renown you have,
Interesting.
the more
Huh?
so I don't know.
Like your parents
Yeah, my
taught you this?
very
Interesting.
much so. Well, and I would say like growing up with just a classical school environment, the emphasis is on like
Interesting.
um how much you know. So like I was always as a kid, I was always scared of being stupid rather than like
I would agree.
you know.
I would say I feel that way now,
Yeah. Well,
which
no,
is
I am too.
which is
Yes.
why
Yeah.
I don't like speaking up and saying anything because,
Mhm. Right.
God forbid, we're in a school meeting or even in the meeting the other day, whatever it is, I say something and everybody's just thinking to themselves, "What is this idiot saying?"
Yeah.
So is that me being self-conscious, or is it me trying to like, well, I'm a young person, like I don't wanna, cross some boundary,
Mm.
or am I actually dumb?
Well, maybe I don't know. There's that whole idea that well, I don't know how to actually state the idea, but like the idea of what were we saying the other day? Like in order to learn, you have to not know or whatever it
In
was.
order
Yeah.
to learn, you have to understand that you don't know
Right.
things.
Like.
So,
Mhm.
I think and there's also that I've heard a quote before where it's like people who are smart tend to believe that they're not smart.
Mm.
So then I'll think, "Oh, so then I'm smart." And I go, "Well, wouldn't a dumb person then think that they're
Yeah.
smart because they don't think they're smart? So then I'm actually dumb." Well, then now that I think so it's the
Yeah.
continuous
Mhm.
cycle of like,
Flipping it around.
am I actually am I actually dumb, or is everybody dumb and I just
I
have
think
more self-conscious.
yeah, I think all we're all dumb to some degree, like in a certain way,
Of course,
you
yeah.
know? Um, I don't know though. But in those meetings, I feel like out of anybody, like you are someone who does have something to offer.
Yeah,
You know,
I
like
think my main issue,
mhm,
I'm not super confident in my ideas and perhaps portraying them in the appropriate way, because I may misrepresent what it is I actually think and feel, and it may
mhm.
sound like, "Oh, you're
Which I
you're not
I
educated,"
do
or
that all
you're
the time.
right,
Yeah.
yeah.
Mhm.
But also that the idea may be seen as quote unquote radical for a given committee.
Right.
For example, not to get into too many specifics, but
Mhm.
like I would argue about the budget for the campus and be like, we don't need to spend money on any of these things, and we should spend money on this.
Right.
But, you say that in a room full of people who have been in public education for a while and who have like a big stake in public education, they'll be like, oh, you're this type, I'll be labeled as a certain type of person. And
Right.
therefore it's like, you're not looking out for the needs of, and I go, no, I just think we're spending money in the wrong ways
Right.
on the wrong things.
Mhm. Yeah, and that's interesting. And it's almost like if you raise that point, then
You're
you're
automatically
yeah,
seen
they're just
as,
gonna write you off. Yeah.
yeah,
Mhm.
which is
Yeah.
a major problem
Huge
in
problem.
all domains of life.
Mhm.
Um,
But especially in education where literally the whole thing is about growing and learning and failing and trying again.
so that's what it
Like,
should be about, though,
yes.
right? But is it?
No.
No, right.
No.
I would argue. I think we would both argue that it's it's everything but that.
Yeah.
We've turned it into. I don't even know what it's been turned into. So it just
Uh,
isn't what it's prescribed to be.
mm-mm. The thought is like it's just a mill. Like we're just trying to produce carbon copies of the
Correct.
same
It's
freaking yeah.
we're not creating independent machines per se, or wheels rather, we're making cogs to fit in the wheel.
Yes.
Right. So you're a
It
piece
does
of
feel
the
like that.
puzzle, you're not your own puzzle,
Right.
right?
Mhm.
Which is, I mean, depending on who you ask, not the because do we want people that fit into the greater scheme of things, or
Mhm.
do we want people who are in themselves their own scheme,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, it's true.
Because yeah, like we talk about all the time, we're supposed to like make them more able to like get into college or do well in class,
Right.
but yet that actually doesn't make them a better student, like an
Mhm.
actual student, because they didn't learn anything all year, but yet
Yeah.
they got good grades and they passed the state mandated test.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
yet we wouldn't say they're any better than they were than when we
Yeah,
started.
right, it does feel like we're teaching them to work the system, you know? Like, we have the state whatever, STAR test for us or whatever the diagnostic test
Right.
is. Um, and the whole thing is the whole year we are training to score high on this freaking test, and if you don't score high on this test, then um, you'll be knocked down or you'll have to get held back or this that or the other, and so it's not really about education as such, it's about education for this test and this system.
Right.
And yeah.
And it's funny because it even goes against what we claim school is supposed to be about. It's supposed to
Mm,
prepare them for their future lives, whether
yeah.
that be as an just an adult to go to college or go into the workforce, whatever it is.
Mm,
Yet none of the quote unquote skills that we teach them, at least in our subject, I'm sure other subjects have a better argument, are really transferable in that way.
yeah, like it learning the English language, the riches of the English language is not going to help you be a better producer, consumer,
Correct.
cog
Right.
in a machine
Right.
at all.
Understanding
Yeah.
English literature and
Mhm.
or deep concepts and ideas,
Mm,
that's great because then you can like be a thoughtful individual.
right.
But that's not what we do though.
Mhm.
We've been shackled, if you will, to
Mhm.
teach them the skill of reading and writing, but that's not the same as what we would call expression.
Right. Well, and even when the forms of expression we're taught to teach are, very simple, um, streamlined, sentence stemmed kind of formulas.
Right.
And it's like if you look at some of the greatest works of literature, there is no A plus B equals C thing going
Right.
on.
Formulas
There's
don't
no
exist for great writing.
absolutely not. Well, and I don't know if formulas necessarily, like you were saying, I don't know if formulas necessarily exist for um, education in that sense.
Right.
Like, there's no, well, maybe there's a general outline, but I don't know if every kid following this one standardized system, no matter how differentiated it um, is working out for us.
I would say clearly it's not.
Yes,
Since we've gone to
yes.
the very standardized system, because every state now,
Mm,
every state follows like the common core curriculum. So they have the same
yeah.
standards that we do,
Hmm.
but they just have a different name. So if like you go to Indiana, they're still doing like 8.2B,
Right.
but it's
Hmm.
just has a different name. So it's
Yes.
like fantastic. You can look up words in a dictionary.
Hmm.
Is that a skill that needs to be tested or taught for that matter?
Yeah.
Well, it's funny because then we see students and it's like, oh, you don't know how to look up words in a dictionary.
Good Lord.
We didn't think you
Yeah.
had to teach that, right?
Right.
So then it's like, well, what is the deeper issue? Because we
Hmm.
believe we need to teach these independent skills
Yeah.
when 50, 70 years ago, you look at, I have these old curriculum books.
Hmm.
We look back at other things and it was just like, read this and write this.
Right.
But now we've broken down those two independent skills
Mhm.
into these huge pyramids of like, so we talk about tone and mood all the time.
Yes.
That's just innate within the ability to read.
Mhm.
This is the attitude of the author. This is
Right.
how I feel as a result. This is
Mm.
the aura that is evoked in the passage.
Mhm.
But instead we have to explain that,
Right.
explain those other concepts. And it's like, well, we can't actually do that.
Mhm.
You can't explain what mood is. The mood is the mood.
Well, right, because you reach a certain point where you're just like, "What are you even doing?" I mean, like, the mood of this text is da 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 da.
Right.
And it's like
But then that's also how they are expected to show
mhm,
that they know how to read.
right. Yeah, it is yeah, that is very interesting,
You
like
know, based on this sentence, the mood of the
mm,
passage may be blank.
mhm.
It's it's silly what we've done.
Yeah, what are they getting out of that, you know?
Correct.
Mhm,
Because then it doesn't necessarily apply to any specific thing, but to everything.
right.
So now we can then teach whatever passage or
Mhm,
book that they tell us to, and not these, you know, what you consider classic or great works,
mhm,
because for whatever reason they're deemed too hard or perhaps unnecessary. So then we get to teach these
mhm.
lame passages
Yes,
with these same skills, but you can't evoke the same tone and mood out of these things because they haven't stood the test of time.
right.
They were probably written by some computer program or
Mhm.
some person, no disrespect, who got an online master's English degree,
Yep,
and then they're not a published author. They're not, and there's nothing wrong with that per se,
right.
but there's a reason we were reading like these great
Mhm.
works of literature. And I think now we can see the regression since we've gone away from that.
Yeah. Well, again, I think it's like a student and a teacher, I mean, we're only gonna be as good as the text that we read. I mean,
Right.
again, if everything I've learned about writing and reading, I've learned from writing and reading the best authors I can find. Like,
Correct.
now, of course, there's always, personal interest and that kind of thing. But I do think there is a huge difference between our eighth graders right now reading the Odyssey, um, or them reading these random texts collaged together in our
Have
textbook.
that have a you know, quote unquote common theme.
Hmm.
Because, you know,
Yeah.
it's
Right.
funny, I'll read some of these great works of literature, you know, in my spare
Mhm.
time, and then I'll, you know, watch videos on YouTube like I do,
Mm,
and they'll talk about the things they got from it. I'm like, that's crazy. I never even considered that.
right.
So it's like to say that these things all have this common thing. Well, perhaps they do.
Hmm.
Perhaps they don't. Perhaps they should just be a vehicle for discussion
Yeah.
so that you can contemplate, well, what does that actually mean?
Hmm.
And not like, this is actually the idea you're supposed to get from this,
Yes.
and then you need to express it in this way
Yeah.
using these
Well,
words.
and these stories, I mean, if you choose a powerful story, it does so much more than just teach writing. Like, I mean,
Right.
it teaches virtue. It teaches so many things that the kids right now are missing, especially in our district.
Right, yeah, talking
Yeah.
about virtue, it's like,
Hmm.
it's, you know, virtue being like acting rightly per se.
Mm.
That's not common.
No, well, they don't. If I think about it, like a lot of my students don't have like a guiding text. Like for me, I mean, of course, it was the KJV or whatever
Sure.
growing up, but me learning Greek myths and Roman myths as a kid and all of that stuff like became very much a fairy tales, became part of just the way I saw the world. Like,
Right.
and a lot of our kids haven't had access to that, and it's almost like stories are getting shoved out and replaced with
TikTok
yeah,
is,
whatever
so it's like
yeah.
what it is
Mhm.
now is like kids will just say like 6, 7. Like that's their fairy
Yeah,
tale.
and right.
Like that literally is their
Right.
fairy tale, right? That's the thing that they all get. Like
Mhm.
the numbers 6 and 7 said after each other, and then they like pretend to juggle or whatever it is,
Right.
right? Well, clearly we see the good that's doing,
Mhm.
or it's like I don't even know the memes that they do, but like that's their shared culture.
Right. And there's nothing even they're even devaluing the worth of those numbers, like, maybe, I don't even know, 6, 7 could be interesting if you were thinking about, the 6th day of creation and the
Seventh
7th day
being the rest,
and
right?
and the relationship between or something like that. But no, it's literally just the numbers devalued in a
Like,
hand
I
gesture.
literally
Yeah.
can't count out students
Mhm.
and go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then every kid just starts laughing.
Right. Right.
But if I were to make a allusion to Zeus, Poseidon,
Mhm.
these things that we talk about even in the Odyssey that we're reading,
Right.
they're like, "Who's that again?"
Mhm.
I'm like, "Zeus is the guy with the lightning."
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, 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 yeah.
Right.
Or it's like they even get it. Now this is better than nothing, but like to a lesser degree, they get it through like a separate source. So
Mm.
like, oh, so like this is like from Percy Jackson.
Or
I said,
I was thinking Thor or yeah.
yeah.
Mhm.
I'll say, well, no,
Yeah.
that's actually from the Odyssey. They
Right.
got that from the Odyssey. You don't
Mhm.
understand? They're like, oh, okay,
Interesting.
yeah,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, no, that and but you can see their fascination with mythology and with like
Right, because they'll say I
yeah.
had a student ask me the other day, like,
Mhm.
"How did they know that the Greek gods were real?" And I
Mhm.
go, "Well, they knew as well as we knew that they
Mhm.
were or weren't real, right?" And they're like,
Right.
"Oh, so why did they write about them?" And I go, "Why does anybody write about anything?"
Mm.
And then, of course, the attention span wasn't too long enough to continue that conversation, which is another huge
But
issue, but
still, yeah. No, like I have several students like who are now picking up the Odyssey just well, we have the graphic novel,
right,
but on their own time.
better than nothing.
Yeah, sitting there and reading it through on their own time and asking me questions about Zeus and Poseidon
Yeah.
and the frickin' Cyclops and all of these things. It's incredible.
Yeah, it
Mhm.
is, which I think shows that there's a reason
Mhm.
why these texts have I don't know, not existed, but like been so integral to education for so long.
And just culture, like, I mean, yeah,
Yeah,
it's
because again, going back to the memes thing now,
mhm.
that's what their culture is.
Well, people gather around stories, like, that's
Right.
the thing.
And
Yeah.
now, unfortunately, the stories we have are either awful,
Mhm.
just like awful in
Like,
the sense of
absolute
like
trash.
trash or sad, like because
Yeah.
things will happen in society, and then we get to rather around these bad things, but we
Mhm.
never I don't know, get
Right.
together around good things.
Mhm.
We always come together when something bad happens, and yet good things will happen all the time, and people are still going their own separate ways.
Yeah. We are almost I mean, I feel like media has tuned us to look for the negatives, and I'm almost looking for the negative the fir like, this morning, I woke up, I opened Substack, I'm like, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe this," like, maybe 3rd thought of the day, but kids are getting inundated with that, I mean, hours and hours and
True. Yeah.
hours of
Yeah.
just negativity, and you can almost see just well, at least as I was grading notebooks for 8 hours yesterday, like, the poetry is conveying such hopelessness, and, of course, part of that is we teach middle schoolers.
True.
Um, but also it's just, I don't know, it's odd to me.
Right.
Yeah.
Because, you know, social media wasn't a huge thing whenever we were in middle school.
Mhm.
And, if you're 12, 13, 14, and like you have one bad day, you think it's the end of the world.
Right.
But I don't know if I ever had the level of hopelessness that a lot of kids nowadays have. And
Seriously.
it's like no wonder
Mhm.
they get on TikTok or Instagram because they want to watch something funny. There's nothing
Yeah.
wrong with that, right? But then of course every third thing is like the bombs going off in the Middle East or
Seriously.
the awful things happening in the inner city in America
Mhm.
or this politician did this or this person
Right.
did that and
Mhm.
they have maybe they don't understand it on the surface, but underneath they get this sense of like we my world is terrible.
Well, I mean, with the Charlie Kirk video, like, I had students the next morning mentioning to me, like, "Have you seen the video, Mr. Dumas? Have you seen the video?" And, like, I'm like, "Why have you seen this video?"
Right.
You know?
Right.
Like, that is insane to me because when I saw that video, I had to set my phone down
Right.
and
My
sit
stomach
pray.
dropped. My
Yeah,
my
like,
stomach dropped. I felt
I mean, good God.
that was horrifying and yet now we can assume children who could be as young as 5 years old,
Mhm.
their parents give them a phone, they have access to social media, they just see that,
Right.
and it's not a big deal because like, oh,
Mhm.
they just saw it on their phone, so they then desensitize everything. So
Right.
they either think one of 2 things, that nothing matters and nothing's actually as bad as they say it is, or the whole world is in flames and, like, their
Well,
life is terrible.
and it's also like they just don't they don't have a frame well, not, and again, making generalizations is hard, but it doesn't seem like there is a framework that many of them have to actually handle and process
Right.
something like that, like
Right.
death,
No. Yes.
right there in your face.
Right. And
Yeah.
that's for two reasons,
Mhm.
in my personal opinion. One,
Mhm.
they don't have anybody at home,
Right.
mom, dad, grandma, grandpa, aunt, uncle, brother, sister, whoever. A lot of kids, at least that we have,
Mhm.
this may not be the case all over the state or the country, but more than likely not. They don't have anybody at home to support them.
Right.
And also, they don't have any, how do I put this? Larger institutions,
Mhm.
such as the church or like an actual good government or something.
Mhm.
So then, yeah, I don't know how I would, as a 12-year-old with nobody to like explain to me how awful and what should happen
Yeah.
after seeing it. I don't know what I would do.
Exactly. Yeah. Because it's like, I don't what did I do? I see this video and immediately I go to prayer. I go to my because I
Right.
have a framework with
Sure.
which to, and not that saying framework is weird, like it's like some kind of methodology.
But
But
also it's like
it's like no, like when I'm grieved or when I see something horrible like that, I know
appalling.
where to
Yep.
go. I know what to do.
Yeah.
Do these kids know what to do?
Because if you can't
Yeah.
process it, then it's like
Mhm.
it'll just stay at the front of your mind.
Right.
And then I could imagine that
Mhm.
traumatized some kids because it's like it's traumatizing to
That
me,
was
like
yeah, horrifying.
having to watch a man who perhaps didn't deserve to die be
Mhm.
murdered.
Right.
Yes, that's awful. So
Mhm.
you can only imagine that an 11-year-old in sixth grade
Mhm.
who has unfettered access to the internet
Yeah.
and no guiding framework
Mhm.
or stability, if you will, in their life was they just sat there and watched it over and over again.
Mhm.
And then who knows what other types of things related to that.
Well, and then it's like conversely, kind of the other side of things, well, at least in my thinking, is like, well, but what about, we read Night last year, Elie Wiesel's 13 when he's first faced with the horrors of the Holocaust. Or what about those kids in Gaza who are seeing,
Sure.
murder happen right in front of their face on a daily basis? Like, there's also this like weird I don't know. It's not like that our kids are sheltered at all because they have immense sufferings, but it's like we're not used to that either though. That
True.
level of violence just in the face. We see it mediated through this screen, and I feel like that also has an effect on the empathy that
I
they're
would
able
agree.
to have.
Yes, because
Yeah,
you're separated from it.
right.
If we watch awful things on the news all the
Mhm.
time, we can still agree that they're awful, but if they're not like happening in front of us, you're like, ooh, like, you
Right.
see videos
Yeah.
of a car
Mhm.
crash, or you
Mhm.
see like, on local news, there's a pileup on I-35 today. Okay, that's awful.
Yeah.
But then you see somebody get smoked and T-boned, you're like,
Mm.
whoa,
Right.
because it's right there in front of you.
Mhm.
So now that we have access to all of this information, if you
Yeah.
will, in front of us, it's overstimulating and it kind of shuts you down and then removes you from the situation.
Yeah, there's like this weird, like you're peering in through a telescope or
Yeah, it's
something
almost
at a
like
different
you're
world
just
or
like
at a
up on the
different.
next level looking down.
Yeah,
And I
exactly.
don't know if that's an appropriate way to look at life.
Mhm.
We should be happy for people who experience good things, even if it's not our own. And then also feel bad for people who experience things that are bad, even if we don't know them or we're not
Right.
connected to them. But we don't, like, you see that happen all the time with our kids, right?
Mhm.
Something bad will happen and they'll say, I don't care.
Well, I think about
Like, I don't know them. I don't care. But no, just like in general, we'll talk about things that happen around the world, like with the Holocaust unit that we'll do, right?
Mhm.
And we'll say, "How does this feel?" And they're like, "I don't know."
Right.
Like that sucks, but they don't care,
Mhm.
and that because they have no connection to that.
Yeah.
They have
Mhm.
no connection to that because they're always used to seeing things from like outside. It's almost like there's a circle where everything bad happens, and then they're outside that circle. That's what social media or the internet, if you will,
Mhm.
that's what it does.
Right, and then you wonder when they actually see the thing happen in front of them, are they able then to take it as reality and to properly act and process? Or they still or are they now looking at reality through this kind of disassociated lens where they're this individual who's kind of separated from the rest of things?
Right.
And
And I would think this all plays into just like the larger idea of now we're supposed to get these kids to act like human beings.
Right.
They
Yeah.
come
Mhm.
from little to no structure at home,
Yep.
framework, if you will,
Mhm.
and then we try to care for them and have some tough love for them at the same time and bring them up however many levels. Because
Yeah, right.
another issue is many students, not even just where we work, across the country,
Mhm.
aren't quote unquote on level. Now, I would argue that sometimes that's kind of like ambiguous. What does
I
that
get
actually
it, yeah,
mean?
right.
But then you get a young man or a young woman who is uh 14 or 15
Mhm.
and they're in the 8th grade still,
Yep.
and then they can't read.
Mhm.
Now, of course, they play it off as like, who cares? Like, it doesn't matter. I won't need to read in life. I'm going to be an influencer, or I'm gonna, the extreme cases is I'm gonna go be a thug or whatever.
Right, right.
But that's awful.
Yeah.
That's terrible. I would never. I don't know what I would do with myself if I couldn't read.
Yeah,
I've always
seriously.
in my reality of my life, I've always known how to do these things. Of
Mhm.
course, I learned them, but like,
Yeah.
imagine imagine being you now and you can't read anything.
I mean, good God. Yeah.
How could you function? So
Right,
now
right.
we're almost complicit in this. We're just moving them along.
Mhm.
This young person is now going to eventually be a 21, 22, 23-year old making decisions, perhaps having some sort of family,
Mhm.
but they're functionally illiterate. They have no critical thinking skills,
Yeah.
whatever that means.
Mhm.
But the system that we're a part of doesn't actually want to change that.
Yeah.
It kind of just pushes it forward to the next part of the system.
Right, and I don't wanna be a pessimist, but how much of that is just they're just trying to accumulate profit through the testing systems and through all of these things and the curriculum, and
Right.
I mean, yeah, how much of that is actually care for the students? I mean,
Right.
right.
Because again, with any system, it's only as good as the people involved in the system. But is the system that we have, at least the public education one, is it inherently flawed?
I would say yeah.
So, like, you
I
think,
mean, yeah.
like, regardless of the people who you could, for the sake of the argument, the greatest, most morally virtuous people could be in charge, and it would still have a bad outcome, or a less than acceptable outcome.
I think if we're working in our current with the current status quo, yeah,
Okay.
because I think the system itself again is just kind of set up to, like we were talking about earlier, uh, make students into these fit cogs for the machine.
Right.
Um, and for me, it's standardized testing is just kind of a part of that, and and again, I was thinking about college. Like the focus now is just more and more away from the humanities,
And more
and
towards
right,
specialization.
right. And it's like how much of this is just kind of our production, consumption, cycling through education.
Right.
Um, I don't know.
It's an interesting thought that, you know, people in public education or in general,
Mm,
when talking about education, probably don't consider.
right.
Because many would say that like being a public school teacher is like it's like a virtuous thing. Like, you're going out there to help those kids. And we are.
Hmm.
We're trying to help these kids to the best of our ability. But then at what point is it like, what are we supposed to do now?
Right.
We've done as much as we can do.
Hmm.
We've perhaps defied orders to an
Yes.
extent.
Yes.
Um, so then, are we serving the interest of the greater good if we leave and go to a private school that perhaps has the frame of mind that we
Hmm.
align with, but yet now it's like what actually costs $12,000 a year to go to
Right.
this school?
And we're no longer helping kids who are disadvantaged. We're helping kids with all the
Kids who,
possible
right?
advantages.
Yeah,
Right. Hmm.
they clearly have a family who cares enough about their education to want to send them to this school,
Right.
and then also the resources to then send them there.
Hmm. And sure, their attention spans are probably jacked up too, but
But it's one of those things where
you're
you
right.
call mom or dad, and they're
Mhm.
like, "Certainly, yes,
Yes.
we'll handle this at home." Whereas, as you and I both know, in certain schools, you call home, somebody doesn't pick up,
Right.
or they say, "Hey, like, why are you bothering me right
Mhm.
now? Like,
Mhm.
I'm at work, or I don't really care. You got to watch him while he's there. Like, he's bad for me too. Like, I don't know what to tell you. She's been disrespectful at home too. I'm sorry, I don't know what to tell you." And it's like,
Mhm. Man.
but
Yeah.
then I would argue then that that parent is a result of the system that we're so
Mm.
the kids we have now will grow up to be those parents.
Yeah.
They'll be like, "Oh, sorry, I don't know what to tell you."
Right. Yeah.
Yes,
No, it's very interesting. Well, then again, I mean, in those parents, it's like y- sometimes it's hard to have empathy because you're just sitting there thinking like, how on earth, last year I had at least two instances where a parent is cussing me out after their kid just cussed me out, and I'm
right.
like, how can you not see this? Like, good gracious.
But then again, that's a result of
Hmm.
the lack of virtue.
Yeah.
Now, I would argue then that it's not actually the job of the school to teach virtue. It's their job to perhaps support the virtues. The
Mm.
virtues should come from the home and
Yeah.
religious institutions.
Well, I've often thought like, is education supposed to be an inherently religious thing? I don't know.
Yeah, I would say I struggle with that idea because I like the separation of church and state.
Yeah.
I think the idea of public education is a noble one because it's like you are preparing the next generation of people for your country, which I think would be a patriotic thing.
Mm.
But of course, what does that mean though?
Right.
Because if we're just preparing them to, I don't know, go fight in a war or
Hmm.
make our GDP greater, objectively, those things could be good for a nation at a given point in time.
Yeah.
But are they always the best thing?
Mm.
I would say no.
Mm.
That being said, I still haven't worked out the proper solution to the problem
Yeah.
because if all schools were private, quote unquote, then there might be more specialization and more humanities driven
Hmm.
schooling. But as it stands now, it's just like the state, those behind the state, whoever it may
Hmm.
be, they want us
Yeah.
they want us to fit in where we fit in. And if we
Mm.
don't fit in there,
That's right. Yeah.
yeah,
Right. It's like, again, they have their own framework that they're working with and fitting us all into. Um, yeah, I don't know. That's interesting. But I do think because I do think, like you said, like public education is a good thing though. Like,
right.
and in modern pedagogy, like contemporary pedagogy, I do think is good. Like bringing in new ways to teach content and
Sure,
all of
yeah.
those things is great. Um, and we could have great resources at our fingertips if our, you know,
Right.
higher ups would allow us some more creativity
Right.
and a little bit more. So maybe it is like, uh, I don't know. I think a lot of it is systemic and
Yeah.
just the way that we feel things have to go. Um, but then again, I don't know.
I think it's a multi-pronged issue 'cause I've talked about it on here
Yeah.
before.
Hmm.
You know, if you have students who come from broken homes, they don't have support, it's highly less likely that they're gonna succeed
Hmm.
in anything, whether
Yeah.
that be sports, academics, social life, whatever it is,
Yeah.
they're probably not gonna do as well, which is unfortunate, but it's the
Yeah.
reality,
That's,
right?
yeah.
But then we also, as you know, public school districts, not in Texas, not just in Texas, but across the country, will hire anybody to work there.
Yes.
And
Hmm.
there are plenty of people who are qualified to be teachers. There are, I would say, plenty more teachers who are the most qualified to be teachers based on, just the things that they are interested in or their inept skills or whatever you want to call it. But yet they're drawn to these quote unquote bigger and better things, whether that be, going to be a lawyer or
Hmm.
instead of teaching science to high school and middle school students, you want to go be a scientist yourself. And there's nothing wrong with that per
Hmm.
se, but how is it that we could, at public schools or schools in general, get those types of individuals?
Hmm.
Because then who knows what students could accomplish?
Right.
When, as we were talking about it just before we started, anybody can become a teacher.
Yep.
I'm
But especially with alternative
I'm
certification.
sure that there are many people who may or may not see this, who knew me in middle school or high school, or
Mhm.
even up until right before I got alternatively certified myself.
Uh-huh.
They're like, what the hell? Like,
Yeah.
that's ridiculous. This dude, Nathaniel Stryker, has no business being a teacher.
Right.
Now, of course, I would argue that anybody can have a fundamental change and
Mhm.
mature and, do things for the greater good, yada, yada, yada.
Right.
But is that the type of job being a public school teacher is today? No.
No.
It's a job that a lot of people do because they don't have any other choice.
Right.
They got
Mhm.
some strange degree, whatever it is, they can't get a job now, and then they just go get alternatively
I'll
certified.
get an alt cert, take like a year, and there you go.
And if
Mhm.
that's what we both did.
That is
That
exactly
is
what I did.
that's what we both did.
Mhm.
And that's not like that's the wrong path, but I would say, not to toot our own horns here, we're the exception to the rule.
Mm.
We really care about our job
Yeah.
to the point where we get in trouble for doing things our own way because we think it's best.
Right.
Whereas I would still argue that other people, they don't care. They just
Yeah.
get the job so they can have a steady stream of income.
Mhm.
They'll do the job for 35 years, then retire, then get a decent pension.
Right.
But it's like they don't care about literature or
Mhm.
math or
Expanding human consciousness. It's more about right.
yeah, it's like
Yeah. Mhm.
the utility versus the just justice, whatever
Yeah.
you want to call it.
Well, and that's right. And but teaching fundamentally it is not like any other job. It's not like a desk job or a
Right.
you can't just fill in. And
Which
but that's the problem is we have so many teachers just filling in. And so you have these huge gaps
right.
and these kids learning. And it's like, well, where are all the creative teachers going? What's going on?
The people who really care.
Yeah.
Because you would think it's like, I don't know, this is the main reason I got into education in
Mhm.
general. There's a lot on the line here.
Yes.
Imagine if our schools were worse.
Right.
It's already bad.
Mhm.
And it's like these kids, like, I'm surprised that any kids are successful if you think about it.
Like,
Because
good
it's like,
gracious.
now, of course, that may be our field of view because, again, middle schoolers.
Yeah.
That we could walk into the best middle school in the entire world and we'd be like, these kids are
Oh,
crazy.
yeah,
Right?
right.
So it's like maybe our field of view, but it's like so much is at stake here.
Mhm.
Like, I don't know, I'm dramatic, but it's like the well-being of like our society is at
No,
stake.
seriously. Yeah. I
And
mean,
I feel like sometimes that falls on deaf ears.
mhm.
Because then it's like, oh, the fate of our society is at stake. You should be a politician, or you should be in politics. I don't,
Should you? Yeah,
and
or
it's one of
should
those things where like
yeah.
I'm drawn to that idea because it's like,
Mhm.
oh, you can make a real difference, and it's like
Right.
I could probably make as much, if not a bigger difference, by working in schools.
Well, yeah, because 'cause they're I mean, that's the youth. They're the next generation, and right
Their
now
minds
yeah,
are so much more moldable. Not
yeah.
that I'm molding minds, but
Mhm.
like I'm perhaps giving them the tools to
Right.
mold.
Yeah. Well, no, it is very interesting because it's like, clearly, we're at an unprecedented era in human existence. I mean, of course, there's nothing new under the sun, but
But
there are clearly
they're
some new things under
under
the
the
sun.
sun. Yes,
Yes.
exactly.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's yeah, I just don't think people understand what's at stake here.
Mhm.
Because there's always something else that, you know, takes precedent,
Right.
I feel. At least that's just my sense. Maybe it's just how
Mhm.
I feel, and it could not be true, but if major things aren't changed in some sense, then it's like,
Mhm.
what hope is there? And
Yeah.
it's like these people, not to get too political, but they like want to destroy the Department of Education.
Mhm.
Okay, great.
Right.
Then what?
Mhm.
You're going to go into every school district and every state agency and be like, now you have to do this. It's like, that's not. Also, the people involved don't even understand what's going on in the schools.
Yes,
That's
yeah.
kind of the whole point of what we're
That
talking
is
about is
the
like
biggest problem.
people don't people don't truly know what it means to get students who should be in the 10th grade that are in the 8th grade who are illiterate
Right.
or who can't do math
Mhm.
or who can't spell or read or talk or
Yeah, because most of us have been blessed with the opportunity to have that stuff
right.
from the yeah.
Yeah. I don't know life without any of those things.
Seriously. Hmm.
Perhaps my memory's bad, but it's like as far back as I can remember, like I said earlier, I could read and write to some degree, but these
Yeah.
kids can't. They can't communicate,
Hmm.
and they can't understand either.
Right.
Goes back to like the I don't know, like the propaganda thing.
Hmm.
They can't understand, so they'll just believe anything you tell them. They can't think critically, so it's like not only are they a cog in the wheel, but
God.
they're a cog in the wheel that has no chance of getting out.
Right.
They're stuck there.
Well, and it's just so dangerous with just the with how clearly manipulative media is, and they don't really have the tools to,
On every side.
right. They don't really have the tools to sit there and critically walk through. Okay, what am I seeing right now? Where does this come from? What should I believe about
To
this?
what extent is this real or
Right.
true?
Hmm.
How does it affect me? How does it affect
Yeah.
other things? It's crazy.
They and really a lot of it is just, yeah, the basic attention, just to be able to observe something and hold on to it and really see it for what it is. They can't do that. And if they can't do that, they can't comprehend what's going on. If they can't comprehend, they can't have any empathy.
Would you say that attention, or a better term being attention span, is the
Mm.
biggest issue that any one student has in school
I think
today?
I think it's fundamental. Like I do think it's probably the fundamental issue. Maybe that's, I don't know. Because I think the ability just to sit still and be comfortable with silence and no input and just what I've got is gone. Like,
Yeah,
it's like, I mean, I don't know. I see a lot of kids are very uncomfortable with themselves and quiet and just sitting there.
yeah.
Um,
Because they're so used to constantly having that input,
mhm.
or is there another reason?
I'm not sure. I think there is probably that, that dopamine cycle or
Right.
whatever that's going on with the constant input. But I think there's probably also maybe a deeper seated anxiety in what the heck is going on, you know? And it does seem to anybody with eyes to see that the world is falling apart. And for a child who has like no framework with which to digest that, I mean, that's horrifying.
Yeah,
And then to put on top of that, if you don't have parents who or guardians who will truly comfort you
sure.
and walk you through that, it's like all you really can do is cover up with this and this and this and
Yeah,
keep your attention flickering so you don't have to focus on what's actually going on,
right.
what's actually real.
Yeah,
Um, which is why what we teach is so important, because I think we fundamentally are training that ability to stay with the story and stay with the character and see it through to the end,
right.
you know?
And then, of course, practice some nonsensical
Some
skill
yeah,
as it
along the
relates
way,
to it, right? So that they
and
can,
this is an MLA in text citation. Yeah,
right.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
and those are all well and good. I'm I'm hypocritical in the sense because it's like I think to an extent school can be like a waste of time because we don't do anything necessary.
Mhm.
That being said, like I'm getting a master's degree.
Right.
I'm actively considering what I'll do after that as far as how my education will go.
Well, what do you mean by necessary there? Like, because I would almost say that that master's degree is necessary for you,
Right.
no?
I
Yeah.
wouldn't disagree with that, but I maybe it's more of a personal thing where I feel like I say all that I've said on here a handful of times that like the majority of master's degrees in circulation today
Mm,
have no worth.
mm,
They're pointless.
right,
Think about think about the fact that you have to get a master's degree in education to move up the ladder in education,
right.
right?
Mhm.
And then but now I'm doing the same thing. Now, I would I would go toe to toe with anybody right now that the courses that I'm having to take are harder than the ones they did.
Yeah,
Now,
good lord.
we'll see at the end of it if that's still true,
Mm.
but I don't know. I'd love to throw Dante's Inferno on the desk of any principal in the state and be like, "Tell me what this means right
Yeah, what's
now."
going on, man?
Yeah, let's
Yeah.
read Paradise Lost together.
Mhm.
Tell me about the trivium. Tell me about those things.
Yeah,
Now,
that is true.
I do have a bias because
Mhm.
I think a more classical way of educating students is the most beneficial,
Mm,
be it through the eyes of the liberal arts and just having these contemplative
Yeah.
questions or having these bigger discussions as opposed to like you now know how to use Microsoft Excel, so you can make these spreadsheets for
Or
your job.
right.
And
Yeah.
of course, like I don't know how to use Excel or whatever,
Mhm.
but it what is Excel? Who cares
Right.
about these
Yeah.
computer programs because
Seriously.
you can learn them in 30
Mhm.
minutes. I don't know. I just think jobs expect too much of people coming in.
Yeah.
So then colleges are like, "Oh, well, we'll just teach them now."
Yeah.
And then
Mhm.
college is nothing. It's not what it used to be.
It's just a degree mill. It's just like, here you go.
Yeah, it's all about the
Mhm.
paper.
Mhm. Or the idea that, a student writes a chat GPT generated essay and then it gets graded by chat GPT and returned to them. And it's like,
And it says
what is
you
happening?
made an 83 and it's like, "What?" Yeah, that's
What's going on?
the
Yeah.
cycle of nothingness.
Right. It's
I would
completely
also
pointless.
I've said this about college. The main reason that people want to go to college, this is what I saw from my personal experience. They wanted the experience. So
Yeah.
it's like you go to this
Right.
4-year college because it's like, oh, I can join a frat or a sorority and I can like have fun and then I can also learn these things at the same time.
Mm.
But one of those obviously takes precedent over the other.
Mhm.
The experience.
Yeah.
And can you blame a 19, 20, and 21-year-old for those things? No, because they're dumb.
Right.
We're all dumb, right? But it's
Mhm.
like we're
But
the
at that
most
age,
dumb. We're the
good
most
God.
dumb at
Yes.
that intersection of ages.
Mhm.
So then, of course, their education is going to take a dive, not only because they're not paying attention, but because colleges realize that they're not taking it seriously. So they're like, well, we're not going to create rigorous courses. And the more people that come to this school, the more money we get
Like, so much
because
money.
the government has said like, no, we'll give the loans to the students. Don't worry.
Mhm.
So now that's why we see the cost of going to school goes up so much. And yet, what are students learning?
Mhm.
I went
Right.
to Texas Tech. I couldn't tell you most of the things that I learned
Mm.
because it doesn't apply anymore.
Yeah.
Now maybe you're different.
Well, I don't know. So, like, getting hit with COVID, I think
Fair,
during
yeah,
college was, and I think COVID fundamentally reworked the way that universities are
right,
playing
because
out.
it's such an online thing now.
But
But
yeah, and when I got hit with online school, yeah, you could just feel the nobody's actually doing this. We're all sitting here with our cameras turned off, dinking around on another window and
sure,
occasionally clicking back and forth for the discussion. And it's like, but I'm paying full tuition for this. Ridiculous. Um, but I don't know. I think I really did when I got to be in person. I loved just the humanities and just being there with professors
no,
who are
I
profoundly
agree. The
passionate.
classes that I had in person
Yeah.
were great. I
Mhm.
took political science classes in person, and we would just do case studies about things about like like these criminal cases where
Mhm.
would go up to higher courts and we'd have discussions about who was right or whatever we had to solve.
Yeah.
And those are great. I love those discussions.
Yep.
It's not the same on the computer,
No, it's not.
especially if you are just doing it to get the degree.
Mhm.
Because again, it's like that's all you're searching for
Well,
because we can't survive now without it. If you don't have a degree, you can't get a job.
it's really not that much different than me, just clicking through my vector solutions training to get the
Right.
certificate at the end,
Right. Yeah.
because I gotta do this to
You're,
keep my job and keep going.
yeah.
Like, that's it.
Yeah. We're just clicking boxes at
Mhm.
this point and nobody, nobody's learning anything.
Right.
Nobody cares at all. And I don't know why.
Mm.
Is it just a consumption thing? Is it the whole like we we like the experience more? Because, if I were to say a kid going to like the University of Dallas now, this rather small Catholic liberal arts school,
Mm.
they'd be like, dude, what are you doing? They're like, no, I actually really care about this degree. They're like, okay, you're like a fringe society intellectual person.
Right. Mhm.
Whereas if you go to SMU, Baylor, Rice, maybe, or these other schools, it's like, oh, that makes sense. You're going there because you get to party, and then you'll have a degree that says, I went to this school.
Mhm.
I don't know. The cost of education has gone up and the value has gone down.
Mm. True. Well, and then, in secondary education, I don't know. It just seems like the value is just going down. There's no cost, but the value is just plummeting as well in tandem with the universities.
Yeah, it's a shame.
Um, yeah. Hmm. Hmm.
So then it breeds these people who, you know, because you actually don't need to go to school anymore to be the most educated person.
Right.
You can buy all the books that you want.
Hmm.
You have all the resources available to you online. You can learn all the skills, you can practice, you can watch the YouTube videos, all these things, but that doesn't get you anywhere though.
Hmm.
It's the piece of paper.
Yeah. Well, and that is so, I mean, you don't know how many times it's just so demoralizing. Like for me, I love writing, creative writing,
Right.
but it's like, well, but I don't have a degree in this, that, and the other, and I'm not going to be a published, doctorate in literature, and
Sure.
I'm just a middle school teacher, and what's the point of? And it's like I'm looking at people with all these credentials as if that means something about the quality of their art, you know?
Right. Yeah.
And it's like I don't think I don't think a degree has any bearing on how good of an artist you are or how good of
Because I
a
think
writer you can
we
be. Yeah.
value the credential over the skill, like the
Mhm.
actual like merits that a person has and the experience.
Yeah.
Because it's like my father, like not too long ago, was looking to get another job, and then they said he's been for backstory, he's been in the medical field for as long as I've been alive, so
Yeah.
over 20 years, right?
Mhm.
But whenever he became a nurse so long ago, you didn't need a bachelor's degree, right? He just got an associate's and got in very successful. He's won like
Yeah.
multiple awards for the work that he's done in the emergency room, right?
Yeah.
He's objectively very qualified to be a nurse, right? They said, no, you need a bachelor's degree. He
Ridiculous. Yeah.
he's been a nurse for 20 plus years, and they said, no, you need a degree, and it's like that's ridiculous.
Yeah, that's crazy.
That's ridiculous.
Mhm. Mhm.
But we see that all around now.
Mhm.
Like you can't become a principal or somebody knowledgeable about curriculum or writing or insert
Yeah.
thing
Yeah.
without saying that you've gone through these necessary steps.
I've often thought about this. Like, did Plato, did Plato have a degree? Did Origin of Alexandria have a degree?
See, the thing is,
You
they
know?
probably were more thoughtful and quote unquote educated than we are, right?
Mhm.
And they had significantly less resources to pull from.
Mhm. Yeah, no, it's interesting. But then if I think about like classical education in that sense, like Paideia, it's so much more about virtue and the cultivation of morality
And
and
wisdom,
yes, yeah, and what it means to be a good, true, and beautiful human being. And that is not what we're doing.
not in the
Ours is how to
slightest.
be a productive, successful, powerful human being.
Yeah, productive, successful. Yeah, because
Mm.
that's what they preach now. You see, like the grind set, the grind mode culture, like the hustle culture, whatever.
Mhm.
If you're not up at 4 and like going to bed at midnight and
God,
doing all these
right.
things, it's like you're not successful or whatever.
Mhm.
But yeah, I think we're looking at success through the wrong lens,
Mhm.
or we've just misdefined success
Success, yeah.
because yeah, I think working hard is important. I think
Mhm.
that's one of the main things that we try to teach is you have to work hard,
Right.
and sometimes you have to work hard at things that you don't think are
Mhm.
worth working hard at. But then also, like, well, what is the ultimate end of our goals in life?
Yeah.
Is it to have so many commas and zeros in our bank account?
Mhm.
Many are taught that it is,
Yeah.
or like your own. I struggle with this myself. Personal legacy. It's like
Yeah. Yeah.
whenever people reference you later on after you've gone, how will they speak about you?
Your chaos, yeah.
Right.
Mm.
But to what extent does that actually matter?
Yeah.
If what you've done on earth while you were here,
Mhm.
if that wasn't virtuous or moral or actually produced good fruit, who cares what people
Right.
say about you later on?
Yeah, because I often think like, well, for me as a Christian, is success for Christ was the cross, you know? It's like
Yeah.
his lowest point is his point of success. And I don't know. That's America, a country that traditionally claims to be Christian, almost has that completely inverted. Um, I don't know. Yeah, because I get the legacy problem too. It's always like, how will I be remembered? Will I finally produce something great?
Do
that
something
will,
worth it, right?
yes, that will make
But
echoes, that will,
this is, I mean, we must decrease so that he may increase,
right.
right?
Mhm.
And that's, I mean, that's something that we are not allowed to teach to
Right.
students, at least in the current situation that we have. And
But there's so much beauty in that. Like, I mean, yeah, for Christ to suffer well is enough, you know? And for me, it's like, I'm so concerned about, am I going to write this book finally or this novel finally?
yeah, am I going to
Yeah.
record this episode of
Right.
this podcast and put it out? Am I going to write this essay and are
Mhm.
people going to see it and then also like it?
Yeah.
But who cares?
Yeah.
To what
It's
extent
all
does that
chat.
even matter? Now, I'm not like a nihilist or
Hmm.
per se, right? Like, I don't
Right.
think like the world, like, it's not that nothing matters, but why does it matter? And to
Yeah.
what aim should we be reaching?
Yeah.
It's not the money, it's not the fame or the legacy or power, like you said.
Yeah.
It's something that we can't even
Yeah. It's
explain.
ineffable.
Yes,
Like,
yeah,
yeah, there's
it's
nothing.
yeah.
I get you exactly.
But again, we can't say that in schools. We can't.
Yeah. Well, but it also makes sense that we can't just lay that out
No, sure, yeah,
because, yeah, I mean,
because we're not doing
yeah.
a great job of laying it out currently. So for us to explain it
Yeah.
to susceptible to young minds, but then also it's like we tell them that they are successful if they pass a test,
Right.
or if they pass our class,
Mhm.
or and again, is that true success?
Yeah.
Who knows? Who knows? Who knows if it's success or not?
It doesn't seem to be.
No,
It
I would
would not
agree.
seem to be.
All right, let's call it
Yeah,
a
that was
do
good.
you want me to, like, I thought about asking you this before, obviously it's rolling now, and we can just, like, cut to it. Like, at the end of, like, the interviews, they'll be like, "Is there anything you wanna shout out?"
Oh, the Substack.
Yeah, I can put it in I can put the Substack
Yeah, you could throw the Substack.
in the bio, and, all 40 of my subscribers can,
Yeah,
can
latch on to
yeah,
my
all the former students who bug me
for past
constantly.
years.
Yes.
Yes.
All right, well, thank you for coming on.
It was an honor.
Yes.
Thank you for having me.
If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to subscribe on YouTube or follow the show on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. And if you're feeling generous, a quick review or comment goes a long way in helping others find the show. For more on these ideas, I also write a newsletter that explores similar topics in greater depth. You'll find the link to subscribe in the episode description. Thanks for tuning in. I'll see you next time.